What is fulfillment in life? All the self-improvement, personal development, and breakthroughs we do for ourselves are important for our own personal growth and can be very fulfilling. But a whole new level of fulfillment in life can be reached when we find out what our true talent is and share this inner wisdom with others. Have you thought of the fact that we all play many roles in life where we already teach others? You may play a teacher role on a daily basis when collaborating with colleagues at work or leading teams. You may teach your children how to bake or fold their own laundry. But to truly inspire others, that's a different story. When you think about people who made an impact in your life, what stands out? Selflessness, passion, and using natural talent. There's no need to become someone before you start sharing your talents. You are here to teach others by just being the person you naturally are. This quote by Maya Angelou is one of my favorites and very relevant when it comes to expressing your natural talents. She says, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And by sharing your gifts and talents, you cannot go wrong. Your talents are gifts to others, and the way you express your talents can only be done by you. Do you want to feel fulfillment in life? Expand on your true talents through passion for what you do and start teaching others what you already know naturally. Are you struggling to make the leap to start teaching others by just being you? Or do you simply not know, feel, or see how your unique talents could benefit others? I always focused mostly on my own learning, development, and accomplishments before I realized that finding my balance and calm is not just about me learning more and experience more. It's about the opportunity to learn and to teach at the same time. It's about how I decide to show up in the world and what I can teach you by just being me, using my natural talents. Have you thought about what you are teaching others just by being you? When you think about work, for example, we often focus on teaching others the facts and methods on how to achieve. We focus less on teaching by the means of how we show up, how we handle situations, or how we react to situations. Think about it. Personally, in my teens, I used to teach kids on how to ride a horse. I loved teaching them all the skills of how to ride a horse. It wasn't until I was an adult and stepped into another teacher role as a yoga teacher that I realized that I could impact people's life at a deeper level just by showing up as me. I realized that I didn't have to take on a role of viewing myself as a teacher. I could just be me. Now I'm helping others to connect with themselves in this way and shift their experience of life just by being themselves. That's fulfillment in life for me. Why would it be important for your own happiness and fulfillment in your life to teach more often at work, at home, or at the grocery store? It's important because you take the focus off yourself when you teach. The question then becomes, what do you teach? How can you be truly helpful to others and to the world? The good news is that you already are teaching others every day, but you may not yet see yourself as a teacher and influencer who can have a huge impact on others. Therefore, many of you are holding back, but it's time now to step out and start sharing your wisdom, your talents and gifts that you already have naturally. The thought that everyone has something to teach is an important principle to help shift your attention from yourself and on to others. By seeing the opportunity to benefit someone else's life, you'll step out of all the reasons for not teaching what you already know. Here's a quote from one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Become aware that there are no accidents in our intelligent universe. Realize that everything that shows up in your life has something to teach you. Appreciate everyone and everything in your life. If you relate to this concept that everyone you meet is here to teach you something, the same would be true for your unique role in someone else's life. The energy that you emit is what you teach. Your presence is your personal power and the door opener for playing your biggest role in life. You're here to teach others just by being the person you naturally are. You inspire others just by being you, without effort and planning. When you focus on the opportunity to make a difference for someone else, you shift your energy from one of needing acceptance and approval to the endless stream of fulfillment in life, satisfaction, and joy. To find out what your unique talent is, you also have to become a student. We're the ultimate teacher and student all in one. Fulfillment in life comes from both teaching and learning at the same time. So let's find out your true talent now. Let's dive into how you can find out your talents and gifts. Here we go. Think about situations in the past when people came to you for advice. And in what situations currently do people already see you as a teacher naturally? Write down all the situations that come up. Maybe you have given advice to your family. Maybe you find yourself in a teaching role amongst friends or at work every day. Here are 3 methods you can explore on how you find out your talents and gifts. First, discomfort. Many believe that we have to get to the point of discomfort before we can teach others. Think about it this way. The energy created when you are going through a transformation or moving through discomfort and resistance in a life challenge is your story. How you handle that is a piece of wisdom for others to learn from. Then share it. Teach the lessons from your experience. Dare to do it. No one else out there can teach from your experience like you do. Second, energy leadership. We're all in charge of our own energy, and become aware of the energy you give off. If you're stressed out, feeling like the world is closing in on you, it's likely because your focus is on yourself, your own objectives, your own goals and dreams without using your talent to inspire others. If you're feeling energized, seeing the opportunity in every situation, it's likely because you focus on others and the opportunity to influence the world. Expand on where you feel most energized and excited. Your talent that naturally fuels your purpose is not about you. Your talent leads to the people you're meant to teach. Third, community. The ultimate reward and life energy boost come when you are teaching others. Share what lights you up. Teach what you already know. Someone will need your exact version. There's always someone in your proximity to receive your teaching, believe it or not. It may be a child, it may be your husband, a colleague, a small group, a large group, or a friend. The feeling of being connected when we teach is why humans grow through learning from each other. It may feel scary to be honest with yourself and witness the truths about how you show up currently. The good news is, however, is that you can change how you show up if you're not liking the way you show up today. So now find out what you teach just by being you. Expand it. You're here to teach others just by being the person you naturally are. Put yourself out there. Find your own way to communicate and share your talent. detach from the outcome and comparison on what this teaching of yours is going to become. Fulfillment in life is the reward. Grow your true talent and watch your happiness grow. Empower people to find their own true talent through what you teach. How can you make an impact in someone else's life today, right where you are, and find more fulfillment in life? Hello, Shagufta. Welcome.
Hi, Erika. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for wanting to be part of this conversation today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So the topic of today here is seeking ultimate fulfillment in life. Tap into your true talent to inspire others. And that's a very dear topic of mine because I've myself been really inspired by others' stories, others' teachings. And so I feel that the more we share in the world from our lives, the more we can give others an opportunity to be inspired.
Absolutely.
So in what way is this topic relevant to how we live our lives these days, in your opinion?
Yeah, when I was reading your blog, there were a lot of thoughts coming up, arising, and it's a topic people don't think about, I think, unless you're really mindful of what's happening around you. And I think it's very relevant now because we live such busy lives, and I think our true self sometimes gets lost in everything that you're focusing on. That is important. Your kids, your families, and stuff like that. But you neglect yourself and what that voice is telling you to do, or what you want to do, not what you should be doing. So it's very relevant to become aware of that, of who you are and like what you're good at. Sometimes we struggle with keeping up with different things, and like being a mom, you're keeping up with what other moms are doing, or anything in any walk of life. I think you're trying to keep up, and I think the struggle comes when you're not showing up the way you should be, which is your true self. And so it's hard, and that's when conflict comes, and you become more torn between what you're doing. Is that fulfilling me? I mean, I know this is something I should be doing, but I want to do this. And so so it is a very I think in any time, I think it's a very relevant thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's a lot of it is some kind of, at least I have a feeling that sometimes it's more expectations, either from our external world or even expectations that we put on each other, that we maybe have ideals or idols that we see, right, that we want to become, but it's not really who we are. so that,
and then that's where conflict comes. That's where struggles come, because we're not getting there. That picture that we have in our mind, we're not getting there. So it's
Very. So from your perspective, what would you recommend somebody? Because I know there's a lot of viewers and listeners that are thinking about what their talents are, and sometimes we can even say what our purpose is that is linked to what our talents are. What would you recommend someone that's listening or viewing to do?
So just to clarify, you mean like to do, like to really find out what they are good at? What to do. And that's a hard one, because everyone has their own path, their own journey of how they discover who they are and what their talents are. I mean, some are very lucky, they know right away. and it's probably self-awareness, or they've been exposed to from childhood that, work on what you're good at. So I think it comes from our own path, our own journey. But I think the way it starts is by really listening and becoming really aware of what is calling you, like where do you feel that you are happy the most, or sometimes we think, growing up, my father was an accountant, and I thought I was going to be an accountant. But when I took my first accounting class, I hated it. I was like, this is not me, and it was really hard to tell my dad, who was like, he didn't have that expectation, and that was the good thing. But I felt like he had that expectation that I would be the one following his path. And I told him, I said, Dad, I can't do this. I mean, I can do it enough to pass the class, but I do not like this at all. And I don't know how you do it, but he was great at it. He loved it, and he knew that's what he wanted to do. So I think there's, I would advise people to listen to that inside voice that tells you, like, oh, I should be doing this, or I want to do this. Not should, I want to do this, and try it. And who knows, it could be something that you like, or it could be something you don't like. But the worst that could happen is that you find out what you are good at, or what you are not good at. Either way,
exactly. It's that trial and error, because it is hard to know kind of off the bat, just without having tried something that we're curious about. And for me, it has really opened up the curiosity around,
right,
when I feel something is, I want to know more about this. That's kind of where the gold is often.
Right.
But
right. And the word curious is so important. You're right. To become that child, like person where you're curious about every little thing, and it doesn't mean that that's going to be your path, or that's what you're going to find it right away. It could be just multiple minutiae of things that could happen, like you could be great at three different things, and you could try to figure out how you do it together, or so we're just such complex human beings that there's not just one thing where we could be good at. It could be multiple. So unless you don't try it, and you don't go for, you don't expose yourself to it, be vulnerable. That's another thing. You have to be vulnerable and just do it, even if you have that fear, like, oh, I'm gonna not be good at it, or fear of failing. You got to try it and see.
Great advice.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that is sticking with me here right now, and it's the being vulnerable part. And that's really something that many people are struggling with, to actually show their authentic self, and authenticity is really to become vulnerable.
Right.
And so the blog post talks about actually sharing something we struggle with,
mm-hmm.
and how sharing can be the means for inspiration for somebody else. Give an example when you have either learned that way from somebody else that was vulnerable in the moment, or that you maybe have been providing that inspiration for somebody else at some time in your life.
Yeah, the thing that comes to my mind is, for me, the change or transformation that happened for me from my corporate life to becoming a yoga teacher and a life coach was a big moment that, when my father passed, and that loss, and that where I was like, I didn't know how to even go on. It was a very hard time for me. And so um, going back to my first yoga teacher who taught me how to breathe, you know, like that was um, my saving grace, you know. So she was the one that, even though I had lost touch with her from the time I had gone to her, and then, you know, becoming a mother and my father passing 2 months later, it was such pivotal moment for me, you know, when I was, you know, like, okay, going back to my breath, learning how to breathe through my stresses. And so she was an inspiration. I mean, that's how I, you know, I think I feel like I was saved, you know,
Yeah.
and move and figured out, you know, how to move on, you know, and I found meditation. I found how it helped me through the trauma of it. So yeah, inspiration can be found anywhere at any moment, you know. For me, I think breath work was the thing that saved me, you know, and that was through my teacher. And when I share my story with somebody about that, you know, someone who has lost someone and going through same kind of grief, showing them that yes, you know, everyone has their own path of how they recover from, not recover, but go through the path of grief and loss, and how they, you know, the journey goes through. But we all find our way somehow, and that helps people sometimes, because it's like, okay, you know, knowing that the story is the same, you know, that you know, we felt the same way, we feel the same loss, you know. For some it's a lot, you know, and they can't handle it. So I try to share that story to maybe help, you know, them to see if that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So
yeah, you, with that story, you have inspired so many people already. And it's funny to think about, like, in our vulnerable moments in life, that's really where others really can connect with us.
yeah, absolutely.
And also, it's also when we're connected with ourselves the most.
Right.
It's really interesting to think about it that way,
Yeah.
about hard times in our lives. That's
Yeah.
really where, yeah, we're cracked open, but at the same time, life is giving us something very, very valuable back. And sometimes that could be even finding your life's purpose, or your talents that have been kind of buried amongst all the busy life we have.
Right.
So
I mean, you know, that's where you find that, you know, the strength that you didn't know you had, you know, like that's where you find, you know, being vulnerable actually helps you open up to a lot of things, because you don't have that guard anymore. You're not holding back anymore, you know? So it gives you that kind of openness that I don't think you get when you're you know, when you're kind of like in that happy state. I mean, I don't know if that's, you know, something, you're still open there, but you're not open to seeing how you could progress, you know, or, you know.
And when we're going on with our day-to-day life and not really reflecting upon any.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, exactly.
Growth-wise, personal growth-wise.
And not just that, I mean, I think in those moments you connect with other people who kind of have the similar strength that you do. And so, you know, you shed away people who you're not connecting with, and you actually gain more connection in those moments with people who really, really care for you, or vice versa. And so that connection is the most important thing. Like, I think that helps you get through a lot of things. And so imagine having those kind of deep connections throughout your life, in every aspect of your life.
Yeah. So good. Such a great point.
Walking you through your struggles, and, you know, and yeah. So yeah, so those are definitely some things that I aspire to, you know, like hopefully I can share my story that people can connect at somewhere in there. And it doesn't have to be a personal loss. It could, you know, it could be anywhere they're struggling and still be able to come through on the other side.
So good. So, Shagufta, what does ultimate fulfillment in life mean to you?
That's a very heavy loaded question. I have to think about that. No, I mean, ultimate fulfillment, I think, is being content and happy with what I have in this moment now, because it can be taken away anytime. So no, not to have any regrets or you know, be bold about what you're doing, you know. And contentment is the biggest thing. Be grateful, and being content is definitely more fulfilling, and sharing is more fulfilling than just receiving.
So good. So what do you think you are teaching others by just being you?
By just being me. I think I'm definitely a good listener, and I love to share finding, you know, the calm, the inner calm, you know, finding that voice inside that tells you it's okay, it's going to be okay. You know, so a lot of times, you know, my sister will call me for advice, and she's younger than, you know, she's 14 years younger than I, and she's always calling me, and I'm like, I know when she calls me, I'm like, oh, here she goes, she wants to ask me some advice, you know. And I asked her the one day, I was like, why do you always call me? Why can't you just like make our own decision, you know? And she's like, because you give me that calmness, you give me that, you know, where I can think, like I can make my decision, but I need that calmness where someone's telling me it's all going to be okay. So I think that is what I feel like maybe I provide for them, to have that space where they can have, you know, where they're not being judged, where they're not being called upon, like, you know, you can't do this or whatever. No judgments, no expectations, but just there to listen and give them space, you know, and hopefully make the right decision for themselves.
Awesome. So let me ask you this. What is one thing that you live by?
What is one thing I live by? Being grateful for what I have. Being content with what I have. Not always thinking like what I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Shagufta, where can we connect and learn more about you?
So I am on srlifecoaching.com. You can find my information there. I'm also a life coach. So my expertise is more in parents trying to find balance in their lives. So you can find me there. You can contact me on my email or on my website or on my phone. 61, you know, you can give me that information in your.
Everybody call her.
Yeah, call me. Yeah, call me. Call me. You want to find balance? Call me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shagufta, for wanting to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely love talking to you. Thank you, Erika.
Thank you.